Welcome to Passive Aggressive Income. This program may contain strong language. The content may not be suitable for audiences under the age of 17. We understand many of our listeners may not agree with all of our personal viewpoints. We in no way, shape, or form mean to be offensive to anyone. Our show notes will provide all of our source material included for each episode. Now let's get passive aggressive. Welcome back to another episode of Passive Aggressive Income. I'm Mims and I'm here with Lexi, and she is going to be talking about something that I know nothing about. So I'm going to hand over the reins because I'm super excited to dive into it.
Yeah, so as we have just passed our 1 year officially on this podcast, super exciting. Mims and I decided to do a whole like updated branding shoot and everything for our social media posts. So you may have noticed some new pictures both on our social media or if you watched the YouTube channel, all over that, and our podcast cover on Spotify also. So that got me thinking and inspired me to do a whole episode on branding shoots, what they are, why you should do them, why they're important, and just how to get some really like bomb photos for your business. So that's what
Yeah,
we're going to talk about.
love it, love it. Let's get into it.
All right. So, what are branding shoots? I feel like this is kind of a vague term, like branding in general, but essentially think of branding shoots as like a photo shoot of you, your employees, and or your products, and basically like a whole photo shoot that represents your business. So that is very wide, like a very like wide variety of things that you can think of. So we'll break it down a little bit throughout this episode um, just to get a feel for what they are and why they're important. There's a lot of uses for the photos that you can get from a branding shoot. This includes photos for your website, your social media, your podcast or album covers, any promotional flyers that you have, other advertisements, and even if you just kind of want a more interesting headshot than the standard straight on, this is your face with a white background. And branding shoots they're a really fun way to make your business look more professional versus just kind of like, posting a quick selfie or whatever. Um,
Right.
and it shows off what you as a business owner have to offer and really adds a personal touch. And it just kind of shows that like you're putting effort into how you are portraying your business and how you want other people to view it.
So, quick question. Is it necessary to have your face in it, or can it be kind of like an off shot of you like working in your element?
Mhm. Yeah, so it really can be up to how you want your business to be. Like if your face is a part of your business and like people are working with you directly, I would definitely suggest having pictures of you in it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be smiling at the camera and posing. It can be you working on your jewelry or
Mm,
like mowing the lawn if you're a lawn care business. It can be you just like putting in the work, doing your thing. It doesn't have to be like super professional and like, when you think of a business owner, it doesn't have to be just like boring. It can be fun.
got it.
Whatever kind of brand you have, that's how you can portray it in photos. And you don't have to have the answers. You can talk to a photographer and they'll kind of give you the rundown and work with you on asking, or if it's a good photographer, they should be asking you questions on like, okay, so what sort of is the mood of your business? What colors are you using? All of this kind of stuff that we'll get into here in a second. So I'll go through some of my tips for the best branding shoot photos and sort of what it looks like. So we kind of touched on this just now, but show off some behind the scenes photos or processes. So, for example, I've owned my business Star Media for about 4.5 years. And throughout those years, I've done a lot of branding shoots for a whole bunch of different types of companies. And one of my favorite branding shoots that I did was for a florist and I photographed her putting together a bouquet. So as she was putting flowers in and sort of like rearranging the foliage, I was getting really small detail shots. I was getting wider photos of her just enjoying her doing her craft and also some staged photos of both her with the bouquet and like the bouquet itself as the finished result that she could use.
That must have been the most aesthetically pleasing photo shoot ever. That just sounds amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's so much fun doing those kind of shoots because you're just getting to sit back and watch someone do what they love doing. And I feel like when you go to a floral shop, you don't really get to see the whole process of like how that bouquet was created. You just see the finished result. And it's like, wow, like you are putting so much detail and thought into how exactly you're placing the flowers and how you're putting in the
Mm,
greens, like the different green stems and how to balance those things. And it's just really interesting. Like you learn a lot and it's just a beautiful process too.
absolutely.
Through Star Media, I did social media regularly for many of my clients. And I would do a news shoot pretty much on a monthly basis to show off any new products that they had since I was there the previous month and just kind of get updated social media content because it's if you're a business who's posting maybe like every single day or 5 times a week or sometimes multiple times a day, those pictures can get kind of stale really fast, especially if you're posting like the same product over and over.
Mm,
So if you are running a business that sells a physical product like that, I would suggest doing these shoots somewhat often. Maybe it doesn't have to be once a month, but definitely more than once a year if you have a physical product. And yeah, each of these shoots that I did where I would go out for my clients once a month, that was essentially a branding shoot.
gotcha.
So other types of branding shoot photos that you could do are staging what a day on the job looks like. So even if you think what you do is super boring, it still gives your audience insight into the culture of your workplace. So I've worked for some really fun businesses and I've worked for some businesses that aren't the most interesting. So, for example, I worked with an insurance agent for a while. And you might be thinking, Lexi, how the hell do you photograph an insurance agent and like make that fun?
Right.
So, yeah, even though that industry isn't super visually interesting, I still went in just one time that I worked for them, to get some cool shots around the office of staff at their desks, kind of doing their thing on their computer, answering the phone, people at the front desk greeting clients. And it really made us able to show that their business is a business of like actual people. It's not just
Mm,
insurance. You get to see the people that you're talking to on the phone that you're going to be working with and trusting with, kind of with your finances and with your life. And
right.
being able to utilize those pictures throughout, the next year or so that I worked with them in like different infographics and stuff like that just made it a lot more interesting than just kind of posting whatever insurance agents post on their social media.
Right. Yeah,
And
and it's nice to put like a face to the name of who you're talking to. So it's like you're calling Martha and you actually know what Martha looks like and
right,
it's kind of relatable in that way.
exactly. Especially if you have employees who are there for like many, many years. Like my dentist office, she had like so the dentist office that I go to, the front desk person, her name is Monica. Like she's been there the entire time I've lived in the Twin Cities, and she'll call me, and I know exactly like what she looks like,
Yes.
what her face is. She'll recognize me, and so like if you have employees like that, it's really important to kind of showcase them on
Mhm.
social media. And
Yeah.
if you have a business that isn't very visually appealing, chances are your competition isn't doing this. They're not doing branding shoots. So it kind of gives
Mm.
you an edge to do stuff like that too.
Ooh, that's a really good point.
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely like one of my pitches for those types of businesses. And I was actively growing Star Media. I'm like, you're gonna be the only one doing this. It's really gonna set you ahead.
Yeah, I'd buy it.
And then another tip for branding shoots is just to do more than one. We talked about that a little bit like earlier in this episode, but like I said before, content can kind of start to feel stale after a while, and especially if you're posting the photos on social media, a lot can change with your
Mm,
business and how you look. I mean, that's kind of one of the
yes.
reasons Mims and I decided to do a new branding shoot because we're different people a year later. Like we just look
Yeah.
different. We've got different ideas. And so it's definitely fun to do a new branding shoot at least on an annual basis, if not more often than that, just depending on what kind of content you're putting out.
Yep, that makes sense.
And it's probably obvious, but it needs to be stated that you should make the content true to your brand. So pick a location that fits the type of industry that you're in. When Mims and I initially started brainstorming ideas for this podcast, we're both really like naturey people, and we're like, let's go out in the woods and get some like cool,
Yeah.
like, moody, like woodsy pictures, and that would be really fun. And it would have turned out well. And then
Yeah.
we realized that like our podcast really doesn't have anything to do with nature, like whatsoever.
Right.
So, we're like kind of nice looking regularly on the podcast. We're like businessy type of people. So we decided to do more of like an urban downtown vibe and go to a coffee shop right on like a busy downtown street. And I think that just fits the brand a lot better.
Absolutely.
Mhm. And you should bring some props to your branding shoot. So these are things that you can bring that will kind of represent your brand. So, for example, Mims and I, so Mims, a beautiful person, physically inside and out, really good at taking photos, right? Me, very awkward.
I think it's the total opposite, but I love hearing what you're saying right now.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But when it comes down to it, like getting your picture taken is just kind of an awkward thing. And I know that when we had both of our branding shoots done, I sort of just like anxiously giggled throughout the entire shoot.
Yeah.
And so having props is really helpful because it can kind of give you something to focus on and
Mm,
give you a little bit of a distraction. And if you're looking at like a microphone, if you're pretending to be on your laptop during the branding shoot, then that certainly makes it a lot easier than just staring directly into the camera and overthinking what am I doing with my hands? Or like, why is
yeah.
my leg like this? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having your and it shows, like, what you are doing as well. So, like, if
Mhm.
you're selling a product, having, like, that T-shirt, right next to you is, like, a fun addition, or, like,
Yeah.
us, we had our microphone and, like, we were taking notes, and it's just
Yeah.
kind of, like, what we do.
Yep. We had our like beverages because we were at the
Yeah,
coffee shop. We had a planner. Like it really sort of represented like what the content of this podcast is about.
right.
So brainstorm ahead of time what represents your business and then bring those things to your photo shoot. And in addition to that, sort of staying true to your branding, really beforehand, keep in mind your brand colors. So you might just be like, yeah, this is a nice outfit and like this is cool, but you could be wearing like, I don't know, super like colorful rainbow everything. And then you realize that your business is really sort of just got like a couple of colors that aren't super bright and chaotic. And you're like, that doesn't really make sense, right? So think that these photos are going to be all over your website, all over social media, and you really do kind of want it to be aesthetically matching your branding. And that doesn't mean you need to go buy a new outfit that is exactly the colors of your branding. Just sort of like
Right.
stick with the general theme. So to continue using this podcast as an example, our branding has a lot of like earth tones and neutrals. It's kind of moody. There's a little bit of blues in there. And so we ended up going to a coffee shop that has similar colors to our branding. And when we first decided on this, it was sort of coincidence. And then when we did the second branding shoot, we decided to stick with it because it just fit so well. Like it has like
Yeah,
moody, dark walls, and then we wore like kind of neutral colors that matched both the background and our brand colors. And it really made it like a super cohesive look.
absolutely.
And dress the part. If your industry is professional, dress professional. If your business requires a uniform, then you should wear your uniform at least for part of the shoot. And you could spice it up a little bit, add some more things or like do an outfit change, but it should be obvious generally what sort of industry your business falls in. And then make sure that if there are multiple people in the shoot, you can dress at a similar level. So one person's not like dressed to the nines, the other person shows up like in blue jeans and they're
T-shirt.
really casual. Just sort of like coordinate that a little bit ahead of time.
Right. It should be a cohesive, picture at the end of the day.
Exactly. I think like the sort of general thing that I'm trying to get at is like make it cohesive, make it true to your brand, and also make sure that you feel comfortable and confident in what you're wearing
Mm,
too. Like I said, you don't need to go buy a new outfit. If you're working in this industry, chances are that the things that you wear on a daily basis already represent your business because you're working in that industry and you want to feel confident and comfortable. So you're not like awkwardly like, oh, this doesn't fit quite right and this feels kind of weird because that's
Mm.
going to show in your photos.
Right, like if you're a yoga instructor, wear your yoga gear. Like
Mhm.
you should represent that. You don't have to be in like a business suit because it's not
Yeah,
really the vibe.
no, not at all. Hmm. And one thing that Mims and I did take advantage of for our first branding shoot was Pinterest. So looking at sort of like what people are wearing, and then also just what sort of photos and poses and what kind of
Yes.
vibe are we going for. And so we kind of screenshot it or saved in a Pinterest board the different types of photos that we liked and sort of the general vibe we were going off of. And that helped us through the photo shoot get like clear ideas on how to get a good variety of different types of photos for that shoot.
Yeah, and it helps when because a lot of photographers don't really guide you as far as like posing. If
Mhm.
they're really good, they will be like, "No, move your hand. It doesn't look good that way," or like tilt your head up or whatever. So if you don't have that type of guidance, take screenshots or save pictures and where you see a pose and you're like, that is what I want to do, and they'll help you if you show them
Mhm.
that. So
Yep.
that's really helpful.
Yes, exactly. And feel free to share those photos with your photographer ahead of time too, so they kind of know what they're walking into.
Hmm.
Yeah, in addition to that, just like get a good mix of different backgrounds, of different angles of you smiling or being more serious if if that fits for your business. Standing, sitting, doing things in motion, or just actually having poses and photos with your props or without props. And just think of like all the different ways you might use these photos and make sure you have a good variety of photos to use for those different purposes. So just remember that this is a good time to get an updated headshot for your business cards or LinkedIn and your website, and that it's also going to go a whole bunch of other places.
Yep.
So I'll finish off this episode just to sort of summarize some of the main points of what a branding shoot is, why it's important, and some of the tips that I have. So, branding shoots are a great way to show off your business and make it look like a real, actually established company, even if you are just starting out. Like, that's going to put you ahead. If you put in the effort and a small investment of like getting professional photos and taking the time to do that right off the bat, then people are going to be like, yeah, they've been around forever. They've got their shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, these photos are great for social media content, for your website, and anywhere else that you have your business online. Before actually doing the shoot, you want to evaluate what your brand looks like or what you want it to look like if it's not even a thing yet. Plan a location, your outfits, your colors, and props accordingly to match that brand. And you should continue to update your branding photos. This shouldn't be a one and done thing because you and your business are likely changing constantly. So, a new branding shoot is a great way to announce a new product, for example, or a new partnership, or to celebrate a milestone, like celebrating a whole year of doing this podcast. That's a good excuse for a new branding shoot. And last but not least, make sure that you have fun doing it because getting pictures can be kind of awkward, but make sure you find a photographer that you trust and that you vibe with. Make sure you have planned enough ahead of time that you don't feel like you're walking into something that is really scary and unknown.
Mm.
Just yeah, it's supposed to be a good time. Like those smiles in your pictures should be genuine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finding the like Lexi said, finding the right photographer, I think is going to be the key because I've dealt with so many different photographers and you could tell when I was like uncomfortable and when I wasn't. I was totally in my element and
Mhm.
um you can read about it in reviews, you could, talk to other people that have used them and get some insight on that.
Mhm.
It's just a good partnership to really focus on when you do these branding shoots.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we'll make an episode about that on how to find a photographer if you are, wanting to do a branding shoot or even if you're just looking for like new photos of yourself to make you feel good or if you have like,
Yes.
a wedding coming up or engagement photos or whatever the case may be. Let us know if you want us to do an episode on that.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening and for sticking around for the past year plus. We're super excited to keep bringing fun topics that we're interested in to you guys every single Monday. So make sure to tune in next week for another one.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Passive Aggressive Income was written, recorded, edited, and produced by co-hosts and creators Mims and Lexi. We truly want to thank our listeners, collaborators, friends, and family that continuously support us for all the love we receive. If you enjoy our show, please give us a glowing rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we are up to. For any inquiries, please email passiveaggressiveincome2023@gmail.com. Episodes of Passive Aggressive Income are available wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and like us on your favorite streaming platform.